The morning sun cast long shadows across the grounds of Adelaide Cottage as Catherine, Princess of Wales, stood at her bedroom window, watching her children play in the garden below. Prince George kicked a football with determined focus, while Princess Charlotte attempted cartwheels on the perfectly manicured lawn. Little Prince Louis chased after butterflies, his laughter carrying on the gentle breeze. For a moment, everything seemed wonderfully normal, but Catherine knew that normalcy was about to change forever. 3 months earlier, during what should have been a routine medical appointment, Catherine had received news that would shake the very foundation of the royal family. The words from her doctor still echoed in her mind like a distant thunderclap. Cancer. The word hung in the air between them, heavy and suffocating. At 42, with 3 young children and a life of royal duties ahead of her, Catherine had never imagined she would face such a battle. The initial shock had been overwhelming. She remembered sitting in the sterile medical office, Prince William's hand gripping hers so tightly it almost hurt. The doctor's voice seemed to come from underwater as he explained the treatment options, the prognosis, and the road ahead. All Catherine could think about was her children's faces, their innocent questions about why Mummy looked so pale and how she would find the strength to fight this invisible enemy. William had been her rock from the very beginning. The man who had once been the carefree prince, known for his love of flying helicopters and playing polo, had transformed overnight into a fierce protector of his family. He cleared his schedule immediately, postponing royal engagements and delegating responsibilities to other family members. His priority was singular and unwavering, to be there for Catherine and their children through every step of this journey. The couple had made the difficult decision to keep Catherine's diagnosis private initially. They needed time to process the news themselves, to explain the situation to their children in age-appropriate ways, and to plan for the treatments ahead. The royal household was sworn to secrecy, and only the closest family members and most trusted advisors were informed. Catherine began her treatment quietly, traveling to the hospital in unmarked cars and entering through private entrances. William accompanied her to every appointment, sitting beside her during chemotherapy sessions, holding her hand when the nausea became overwhelming, and brushing her hair gently when it began to fall out in soft clumps. These were the moments when the world of royal protocol and public duty faded away, leaving only a husband caring for his wife and a mother fighting for her children's future. The physical challenges of treatment were immense, but Catherine discovered reserves of strength she never knew she possessed. On days when the fatigue threatened to overwhelm her, she would think of George, Charlotte, and Louis. She imagined their future milestones, George's first day at secondary school, Charlotte's passion for horses developing into competitive riding, and Louis growing from a mischievous toddler into a confident young boy. These visions became her motivation, her reason to endure each difficult day. William watched his wife's transformation with a mixture of admiration and heartbreak. The woman he had fallen in love with at university, who had captured his heart with her grace and strength, was now fighting the battle of her life. He saw her struggle with simple tasks that had once been effortless, watched her pause to catch her breath after climbing stairs, and witnessed her tears when she thought no one was looking. But he also saw something else, an incredible determination and courage that made him love her even more deeply. The children sensed that something was different. Though their parents had carefully explained that Mummy was feeling unwell and needed special medicine to get better. George, being the eldest at 10, asked more pointed questions. Why did Mummy sleep so much? Why couldn't she play football with him like she used to? William and Catherine answered honestly but gently, explaining that sometimes people get sick and need time to heal, but that they were surrounded by excellent doctors and lots of love. Charlotte, with her perceptive nature, seemed to understand more than she let on. She began leaving small drawings under her mother's pillow, colorful pictures of flowers and rainbows with messages like, "Get well soon, Mummy," written in her careful handwriting. Louis, at 5 years old, simply wanted more cuddles, instinctively knowing that his mother needed extra hugs during this difficult time. As weeks turned into months, Catherine's treatment progressed steadily. There were good days and challenging days, moments of hope and periods of uncertainty. The oncology team was cautiously optimistic, noting that Catherine was responding well to the treatment protocol. Her youth, overall health before diagnosis, and positive attitude were all factors working in her favor. During this time, William found himself taking on more responsibilities at home while also managing his royal duties. He helped with homework, attended school events when Catherine couldn't, and maintained as much routine as possible for the children. The household staff marveled at seeing the future king making breakfast, braiding Charlotte's hair, and reading bedtime stories with the same dedication he brought to state functions. Catherine's relationship with King Charles deepened during this period. The king, who had his own health challenges, understood the unique pressures of maintaining royal duties while dealing with personal health issues. He visited Adelaide Cottage regularly, spending quiet afternoons with Catherine, sharing books and gentle conversation. His presence provided a different kind of comfort, that of someone who understood both the weight of royal responsibility and the human vulnerability that lay beneath it. Queen Camilla became an unexpected source of strength as well. Having navigated her own challenges in joining the royal family, she offered practical support and emotional understanding. She would arrive with homemade soup, sit with Catherine during her rest periods, and share stories that made her daughter-in-law laugh during difficult days. The decision of when and how to share Catherine's journey with the public weighed heavily on both her and William's minds. They understood their responsibility to the people who supported them, but they also fiercely protected their family's privacy during this vulnerable time. Royal communications teams worked discreetly to prepare for various scenarios, crafting statements that would be truthful but also respectful of the family's need for privacy. Media speculation began to grow as Catherine's public appearances became less frequent. Royal correspondents noted her absence from several expected events, and social media buzzed with theories about her whereabouts. The pressure to provide explanations mounted, but William and Catherine remained focused on what mattered most: her health and their family's well-being. During one particularly difficult week, when Catherine's treatment side effects were especially challenging, William made a decision that surprised even his closest advisors. He canceled a high-profile international trip citing personal family matters. The move sparked immediate speculation, but William remained steadfast in his priorities. No royal duty, regardless of its importance, would take precedence over being present for his wife during her darkest moments. Catherine's medical team included some of the world's leading oncologists, and their coordinated approach was showing positive results. Regular scans revealed that the treatment was working, though the journey was far from over. Each positive report brought hope, but also the understanding that the road ahead would continue to require patience, strength, and unwavering support from her loved ones. The couple found solace in small moments of normalcy. Weekend mornings, when Catherine felt strong enough to join family walks around their estate, became precious treasures. They would explore the gardens together, with the children running ahead and their protection officers maintaining a respectful distance. These walks reminded them that life continued to offer beauty and joy, even in the midst of uncertainty. Catherine's spiritual life became increasingly important during this period. She found comfort in quiet prayer and meditation, often sitting in the small chapel at Windsor Castle during her hospital visits. The ancient stones and peaceful atmosphere provided a sense of continuity and hope that transcended her immediate circumstances. William, though less naturally inclined toward formal spirituality, joined her in these moments of reflection, finding his own peace in their shared silence. As Catherine's treatment continued, she began to think about how her experience might help others facing similar battles. She researched cancer charities, spoke with fellow patients during her hospital visits, and started to envision how she might use her platform to support others once she was ready to return to public life. This sense of purpose beyond her own healing became another source of strength during the most challenging days. The royal household adapted to support the family's changing needs. Staff members took on additional responsibilities without question, understanding the gravity of the situation. Security protocols were adjusted to accommodate frequent medical appointments while maintaining the family's safety and privacy. Everyone involved demonstrated the kind of loyalty and discretion that had supported the royal family through previous challenges. William's relationship with his father and brother evolved during this period as well. King Charles provided steady guidance and support, while Prince Harry, despite ongoing family tensions, reached out privately to offer his thoughts and prayers. These gestures reminded William that family bonds could transcend public disagreements, especially during times of genuine crisis. As autumn approached and Catherine's treatment regimen continued, she and William began to discuss the future more concretely. They talked about when she might be ready to resume public duties, how they would share her story with the world, and what changes they might make to their royal role going forward. These conversations were tentative but hopeful, based on the increasingly positive reports from her medical team. The children adapted to their new normal with the resilience that young people often display. They created new traditions like movie nights when Catherine was too tired for more active pursuits, and developed special ways of showing their love, from Louis's enthusiastic hugs to George's protective hovering near his mother. Charlotte appointed herself as Catherine's official tea maker, a role she took seriously and performed with great pride. Catherine's physical appearance changed throughout her treatment, but her inner beauty seemed to shine more brightly. Friends and family noted a new depth in her eyes, a hard-won wisdom that spoke of battles fought and challenges overcome. Her smile, when it appeared, carried extra warmth because those who loved her knew how much strength it took to summon it on difficult days. The approaching decision about public disclosure weighed on both Catherine and William's minds as her treatment progressed successfully. They knew that sharing her story would inspire others facing similar challenges, but they also understood that it would forever change how the public viewed her. The private battle would become a public journey, with all the support and scrutiny that such transparency would bring. Their love story, which had captured the world's attention from their university days through their fairy tale wedding, was entering a new chapter. This chapter would test them in ways they had never imagined, but it would also reveal depths of love, commitment, and courage that would inspire millions around the world. The future Princess of Wales was not just fighting for her own life, she was preparing to show the world what true strength looked like. The video camera sat motionless on its tripod in the peaceful garden at Adelaide Cottage, waiting to capture one of the most important moments in modern royal history. Catherine sat on a simple wooden bench, wearing a navy blue sweater that brought out the determination in her eyes. William stood just out of frame, offering silent support as his wife prepared to share her deeply personal journey with the world. 6 months had passed since Catherine's diagnosis, and her treatment was progressing better than anyone had dared to hope. The oncology team was cautiously optimistic, reporting that the cancer was responding well to treatment. But Catherine and William had made a decision that surprised even their closest advisors. They would share her story not as a tale of victory, but as an ongoing journey of hope, struggle, and human resilience. The decision to go public had not been made lightly. Weeks of careful consideration, family meetings, and consultations with medical professionals had led to this moment. Catherine understood that once she spoke these words, her battle would no longer be private. Every treatment update, every public appearance, every moment of fatigue or strength would be scrutinized by millions of people around the world. But she also understood something equally important. Her story had the power to help others facing similar battles. The letters that had begun arriving at Kensington Palace from people sharing their own cancer journeys had deeply moved her. Somehow, despite their efforts at privacy, word had begun to spread in cancer support communities that someone in the royal family was fighting alongside them. These letters convinced Catherine that transparency was not just the right choice, it was her responsibility. The recording began simply with Catherine speaking directly to the camera as if she were talking to a friend. Her voice was steady but gentle, carrying the weight of her experience, but also an unmistakable note of hope. She spoke about the shock of diagnosis, the fear for her children's future, and the incredible support of her family. But most importantly, she spoke about the thousands of people fighting similar battles, many without the advantages of excellent medical care, family support, and financial security that she was blessed to have. William watched from behind the camera, tears streaming down his face as his wife transformed her private pain into public purpose. The woman he had fallen in love with was revealing new depths of courage and compassion that left him in awe. This was Catherine at her most authentic, stripped of royal protocol and ceremonial distance, speaking as one human being to others, facing the darkest moments of their lives. The video was released on a quiet Thursday morning, timed to coincide with the palace's official statement about Catherine's health. Within hours, the response was overwhelming. Messages of support poured in from world leaders, celebrities, and ordinary people who were touched by Catherine's honesty and courage. The hashtag #ACatherine'sCourage began trending globally as people shared their own stories of cancer battles, inspired by the princess's openness. But the most meaningful responses came from cancer patients and their families. Support groups across the UK and around the world reported that Catherine's message had given hope to people who had been struggling to find strength. The sight of someone they admired facing the same fears and challenges they experienced daily provided a unique form of comfort and connection. The children learned about their mother's public announcement through careful family discussions. George, now understanding more about his mother's situation, expressed pride that she was helping other people who were scared and sick, like she had been. Charlotte created a special drawing for her mother depicting Catherine as a superhero with a cape, surrounded by hearts and flowers. Louis, in his innocent way, asked if this meant that other children would understand when their mommies were too tired to play. The response from the royal family was immediate and unwavering. King Charles released a statement expressing his admiration for Catherine's courage and his pride in having such a strong daughter-in-law. Prince Harry and Meghan sent private messages of support, temporarily setting aside family differences in the face of this greater challenge. Even Queen Elizabeth, in her memory, would have been proud of how Catherine handled this deeply personal crisis with such dignity and grace. Medical professionals praised Catherine's decision to speak publicly about her diagnosis. Cancer charities reported significant increases in donations and volunteer applications following her announcement. More importantly, doctors noted an uptick in people scheduling long-overdue medical checkups, inspired by Catherine's message about the importance of early detection and treatment. The media coverage was largely respectful, though intense. Royal correspondents found themselves reporting on a very different kind of royal story, one that required sensitivity and understanding rather than speculation and gossip. Many journalists shared their own family experiences with cancer, creating a sense of shared humanity that transcended typical royal coverage. Catherine's treatment schedule continued unchanged, but now her hospital visits occasionally included brief meetings with other patients who found comfort in speaking with someone who truly understood their experience. These conversations were kept private, but word spread through cancer wards about the princess who sat with families in waiting rooms, offering quiet encouragement and genuine understanding. William's role evolved as well. He became more vocal in supporting cancer research and patient advocacy, using his platform to highlight issues that mattered to families facing similar challenges. His speeches carried new weight and authenticity, informed by personal experience rather than briefing papers. The future king was showing the world what modern royal leadership looked like: personal, engaged, and deeply human. The couple's approach to their royal duties changed significantly during this period. They accepted fewer engagements, but approached each one with renewed purpose and meaning. When Catherine felt strong enough to attend events, her presence carried extra significance. People who met her spoke about her increased warmth and connection, as if her personal struggle had made her more accessible and relatable. Their marriage, already strong after more than a decade together, deepened in ways they had never expected. The experience of facing mortality and uncertainty had stripped away any pretenses or small disagreements. They found themselves more grateful for small moments together, more honest in their communication, and more united in their shared values and priorities. The international response to Catherine's announcement strengthened the royal family's global influence in unexpected ways. Leaders from countries around the world reached out with personal messages, sharing their own family experiences with serious illness. These connections transcended political differences and created new forms of diplomatic soft power based on shared human experience. Catherine's treatment team reported that her positive attitude and strong support system were contributing significantly to her recovery. The outpouring of support from around the world seemed to provide additional motivation for her healing. Letters from children, artwork from school classes, and prayers from faith communities around the globe created a global support network that amazed everyone involved. The fashion world responded in their own way, with designers creating beautiful scarves and head coverings for women undergoing chemotherapy. Catherine was spotted wearing several of these pieces, bringing attention to companies that were supporting cancer patients with both style and dignity. Her influence on fashion took on new meaning as she demonstrated that beauty and strength could coexist during the most challenging times. Educational opportunities emerged from Catherine's openness about her diagnosis. Medical schools began using her case as an example of effective patient communication and family support systems. Social workers studied how the royal family's approach to crisis management could inform their work with other families facing serious illness. The children's schools handled the situation with remarkable sensitivity, providing extra support and understanding while maintaining normal expectations and routines. Teachers reported that George, Charlotte, and Louis showed increased empathy toward classmates and seemed more mature in their understanding of life's challenges. Catherine began writing in a private journal during her treatment, documenting her thoughts, fears, and hopes. These writings later became the foundation for articles she would publish anonymously in cancer support publications, offering insight and encouragement to others walking similar paths. Her words resonated deeply with readers who recognized authentic experience behind every sentence. The practical challenges of balancing treatment with royal duties required innovative solutions. The royal household developed new protocols for modified engagements, allowing Catherine to participate in meaningful ways while preserving her energy for healing. These adaptations would later become models for other public figures facing health challenges. As spring arrived, Catherine's prognosis continued to improve, and she began planning her gradual return to more active royal duties. The approach would be careful and measured, guided by her medical team and her own instincts about her energy levels. But the foundation for this return had been laid through the authentic connection she had built with the public during her most vulnerable time. The world had indeed watched in tears as Catherine shared her story, but those tears were mixed with admiration, hope, and a sense of shared humanity that transcended royal titles and protocol. The Princess of Wales had shown that true strength comes not from hiding weakness, but from facing it with courage, honesty, and grace. Her quiet, powerful move had changed, not just how the world saw her, but how they understood the possibilities for finding light in the darkest moments of human experience. 18 months after her diagnosis, Catherine stood before the mirror in her dressing room at Kensington Palace, adjusting the emerald earrings that had been a gift from Queen Elizabeth. Her reflection showed a woman transformed not by illness, but by the journey through it. Her hair had grown back thicker and darker than before. Her eyes held a depth that spoke of battles won, and her smile carried the special warmth that comes from truly understanding life's precious fragility. Today marked a milestone that once seemed impossible. Catherine was returning to full royal duties, and she was doing so with a purpose that went far beyond anything she had imagined before her diagnosis. The past months had shown her not just how to survive, but how to transform personal struggle into collective hope. The morning began with a visit to the new Catherine Foundation for Cancer Support, established with funds raised through an extraordinary outpouring of global generosity following her announcement. What had started as her personal battle had evolved into a movement that was changing lives across the United Kingdom and beyond. The foundation provided not just financial support for treatment, but emotional guidance, family counseling, and practical assistance for people navigating the complex world of cancer care. William walked beside her as they toured the foundation's flagship facility in London. The building buzzed with activity, support groups meeting in comfortable lounges, children playing in specially designed therapy rooms while their parents received treatment, and families sharing meals in a welcoming cafe. This was not a sterile medical facility, but a place of warmth, hope, and human connection. Catherine stopped to speak with Maria, a young mother of two who was beginning her own cancer journey. Maria's eyes filled with tears as she thanked Catherine for giving her hope during her darkest moments. Catherine knelt beside Maria's chair, taking her hands in a gesture that had become her signature during these visits. They spoke quietly for several minutes, sharing the kind of understanding that can only exist between people who have walked similar paths. In the children's area, Catherine found 8-year-old James drawing pictures with unusual concentration. His artwork depicted superheroes fighting invisible monsters, and when Catherine asked about his drawings, James explained that the heroes were helping his daddy get better. Catherine sat beside him, picked up a crayon, and began adding to his drawing. Together, they created a scene where the superheroes were winning, surrounded by families who were safe and happy. The impact of Catherine's openness about her diagnosis had rippled far beyond the cancer community. Medical schools reported significant increases in applications from students, inspired by her example of dignity under pressure. Young women across the Commonwealth spoke about Catherine as a role model who showed them that strength didn't mean never struggling, but rather how you handled the struggle when it came. The royal family itself had been transformed by Catherine's journey. King Charles, who had faced his own health challenges, found new ways to connect with his subjects' experiences of illness and recovery. The monarchy had become more relatable, more human, and paradoxically more respected because of its willingness to show vulnerability alongside strength. William's evolution during this period had been remarkable to witness. The man who had once struggled with the weight of his royal destiny had found his purpose in supporting his wife and championing the causes that mattered to their family. His speeches about healthcare, family support, and the importance of mental wellness during physical illness carried an authenticity that resonated with audiences worldwide. The children had grown up faster than their parents might have wished, but they had also developed an unusual depth of empathy and understanding. George showed particular interest in learning about medical research, often asking his parents detailed questions about how doctors discover new treatments. Charlotte had become the family's unofficial keeper of spirits, always ready with a joke or hug when someone needed encouragement. Louis, now 6, seemed to intuitively understand when someone needed extra kindness. Catherine's treatment had officially ended 3 months earlier, though regular monitoring would continue for years. The final scan results had shown no evidence of disease, words that still brought tears to her eyes when she remembered hearing them. The celebration had been quiet and private. Just the family gathered in their sitting room at Adelaide Cottage, holding each other and crying tears of relief and gratitude. But even as she celebrated her personal victory, Catherine remained acutely aware of the many people still fighting their own battles. Her foundation had partnered with hospitals across the UK to create Hope Gardens, peaceful outdoor spaces where patients and families could find moments of tranquility during difficult treatment periods. Each garden featured benches with small plaques carrying messages of encouragement, many of them quotes from letters sent to Catherine during her own treatment. The international impact of Catherine's story continued to grow. She had become a patron of cancer organizations in several Commonwealth countries, and her influence had helped secure increased funding for research and patient support services. Medical conferences now routinely featured sessions on the Catherine effect, studying how her openness had changed public attitudes toward cancer and encouraged more open communication between patients and families. Fashion remained part of Catherine's public role, but it had evolved to serve deeper purposes. She frequently wore pieces created by designers who were themselves cancer survivors, or clothing from companies that donated proceeds to cancer research. Her choices sent subtle but powerful messages about resilience, hope, and the beauty that can emerge from struggle. The letters still arrived daily at Kensington Palace, thousands of them from people sharing their own stories of illness, recovery, loss, and hope. Catherine read as many as she could personally, and each one reminded her why her decision to speak publicly had been the right choice. The royal household had expanded to include staff members dedicated to responding thoughtfully to these communications, ensuring that people felt heard and valued. One particularly moving letter came from Dr. Sarah Chen, an oncologist in Australia who had been treating patients for 20 years. Dr. Chen wrote that Catherine's story had given her new ways to connect with frightened patients and their families. She described how showing Catherine's original video announcement had helped countless people understand that fear and hope could coexist, and that seeking help was a sign of strength, not weakness. Catherine's approach to royal engagements had been permanently changed by her experience. She spent longer with people, asked deeper questions, and shared more of herself in each interaction. Royal protection officers noted that she often ran over scheduled time limits, reluctant to leave conversations when people were finding comfort in speaking with someone who truly understood their struggles. The annual Trooping the Color ceremony took on special significance that year. As Catherine appeared on the balcony at Buckingham Palace, the crowd's reaction was unlike anything witnessed in recent royal history. The cheers were mixed with tears, and many people in the crowd held signs thanking her for her courage and inspiration. The image of Catherine waving from the balcony, healthy and radiant, became one of the most shared photographs in royal history. Behind the scenes, Catherine had begun working on a book about her experience, though this project remained closely guarded. Her goal was to create a resource that could help other families navigate the complex emotions and practical challenges of a cancer diagnosis. The book would combine her personal insights with expert medical advice and stories from others who had walked similar paths. William often reflected on how profoundly their lives had changed, not just because of Catherine's illness, but because of how they had chosen to handle it. Their marriage had become deeper and more authentic, their parenting more intentional and meaningful, and their royal service more purposeful and connected to real human needs. The couple had also established new family traditions around gratitude and giving back. Every month, they spent a day volunteering together at one of the Foundation's partner organizations. These weren't official royal visits, but private family service, with the children participating in age-appropriate ways. George helped serve meals in hospital cafeterias, Charlotte read stories to young patients, and Louis simply brought his infectious joy to places that needed more laughter. Catherine's medical team remained amazed by her recovery, but they understood that her healing involved more than just physical wellness. Her sense of purpose, the global community of support surrounding her, and her commitment to helping others had created conditions for healing that went beyond traditional medical intervention. The Foundation's research wing was funding innovative studies into the psychological and social factors that influence cancer recovery. Catherine's own experience had highlighted the importance of hope, community support, and meaningful purpose in the healing process, and researchers were exploring how these factors could be systematically incorporated into treatment protocols. As autumn arrived again, marking nearly 2 years since her diagnosis, Catherine prepared for what would become an annual tradition, a special service at Westminster Abbey for cancer patients, survivors, and families affected by the disease. The service would include readings from letters sent to her during her treatment, musical performances by artists who were themselves cancer survivors, and a moment of silence for those who had lost their battles. The world had indeed watched in tears as Catherine and William made their quiet, powerful move toward transparency and hope, but those tears had watered seeds of courage in countless other lives. Catherine's journey from private patient to public advocate had shown that sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is simply tell the truth about their struggles and their hope. Standing in that chapel, surrounded by hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by cancer, Catherine understood that her illness had been transformed into something beautiful and meaningful. Not because suffering was good, but because the human spirit's capacity to find purpose in pain could create light that reached far beyond any individual darkness. Her story had become their story, and together they were writing new chapters of hope for everyone still fighting, still healing, and still believing that love and courage could triumph over even the greatest challenges life could present. The Princess of Wales had found her greatest purpose not despite her struggle, but because of how she had chosen to transform it into a gift for the world.